All right. Got everything plugged back in. Now we're good to go. So.
All right. So the people who didn't get in early.
Say that again.
The people who didn't get in early on the capitalistic scheme.
No, you just said something a while ago before the camera was off. Two people working now. Mm-hmm. Same 40 hours, so that's 80 hours a week, and they without kids, still can't find themselves to find food.
One person working 40 hours a week with 3 kids could afford vacation.
Sometimes.
It's true. They had tons of kids back then.
Exactly. And they were able to support all of that.
Mm-hmm. And that's not to say you didn't have your poverty then. That's not to say that things were easy. It's just to say that it's way different now.
Way different.
It's way different.
Night and day. And then
a lot of people don't acknowledge it.
And then the gas was like 10 cents.
Yo, Mike, don't even get started on the gas. Oh Lord.
Right? I mean, if you calculate all of these numbers, yeah, it will still be cheaper than it is now.
Oh, way cheaper.
And you have to also think about it.
Everything was
there
more
was
affordable.
No such thing as a billionaire.
Oof.
No such thing.
Oof. That's a scary comparison. But for the people who didn't get in early on the capitalistic scheme or the American dream, quote unquote, this quote is a really good one.
Go ahead.
It says, it's John Steinbeck. Socialism never took root in America because the poor see themselves not as an exploited, proletariat, but as temporarily embarrassed millionaires. So the poor of America, which is true, and it's, I mean, ashamedly, I feel has been pitched and bought by me, even when I was very young. The poor people in America are sold on the idea that with enough grit, with a good idea, enough hustle,
work yourself into the ground,
you can become rich. And then there's all facets of it. My favorite form of music, hip hop music. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons I loved hip hop music is because it took people who were in a seamlessly hopeless situation, and it made, they sounded like, and they were, mm-hmm. coming up out of poverty and becoming wildly wealthy, a lot of them. And it's a great story for a kid who's in a similar situation to hear. Mm-hmm. It makes it feel like, with your love of music, or if you love technology, your love of technology, whatever you love, it makes it feel like you can take a passion, or you can take whatever grit and hustle you have, and with enough of it, you can become this. You can become rich. You can become a millionaire. You can become a famous rapper. You can become... and I think that's the dream that was sold. That's the American dream, and it creates temporarily embarrassed millionaires. It's true. When you're poor and you're told that with enough hard work, you just bide your time, you figure it out, eventually you're going to realize it's not true.
It's lies.
But for the time being, man, you can eat shit for a long time. And the truth is, if you do lower yourself, you do eat shit, you can find your way to a better life, maybe, if you're lucky.
Highly maybe.
But it's not guaranteed.
Nothing's guaranteed. None of it's guaranteed.
And the opportunity is more elusive now than it's ever been before.
Oh my goodness. And this is the thing that this is the thing that most people tend to forget. And I mean most people tend to forget, is that the wealthy worldwide, I don't care where you go from, they're all vultures. They are stupid, ignorant con artists. Full stop. They will not come up with anything, but just because they were lucky enough to either meet you or know some people or kiss enough ass, they're able to weasel their way into certain positions and then rob you on the way up.
Yeah, and I don't want to deal in generalizations, because I'm sure, honestly, probably the majority.
Majority of them like that. Actually, all of them are like that.
And especially, and I don't want to say all of them. I know that there are people.
Here's a
for
question.
Instance, I just went to.
Here's a question. How, I just watched a thing the other day. And another thing about some guy, I forget his name, Wolf or something, and he does these things all the time. He's a financial analyst or some shit, and he said the same thing I'm saying to you right now. You do not become a millionaire without robbing, stealing, or hurting a couple people on the way up.
Yeah, I do. And again, I think that's a generalization. So
It's not a generalization, it's a fact. You have to hurt people on the way up. There is no half-assed way around that.
I guess what I'm saying is I think 90% of the time you're right. I do think, I mean, look at the people who win the lottery. What the fuck? You know what I mean? There are really weird ways to become rich. So I don't want to say everyone, because I think it's easy to shut people off when they hear that. But I think most people, yeah.
But you're including the people who accidentally become rich or play a lottery. Those people don't really count.
And then, like, what about
in the capitalist life of stuff?
Okay, you mean more like corporation, more like
anything capitalist. That's what we're talking about. If you're talking about just becoming a millionaire, anybody can become a millionaire. A shit ton of luck.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, there's definitely.
You're talking about
luck
playing
involved.
the lottery, somebody died, and you now become a millionaire.
Well,
inheritance, shit like that.
Well, that's a good point. I think people
that's
inherit.
about it.
I think people inherit. I think a big reason why late stage capitalism is a problem, for reasons other than the country being cannibalistic, is that assets are very easily inherited. And when I say assets, I mean things that make money. Patents.
Yes.
Property. All kinds of stuff. Stuff that you really don't have to do anything to make money off of it.
No.
And that, I think that creates people who didn't create the patents, the grandchildren, the children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren of these people. It creates people who don't really have to do anything to live a very comfortable life.
Do you get my point now? Stupid, ignorant.
Yeah, and I believe it or not, I actually know some of those people, and I don't think you're wrong completely. I mean, and I feel the passion off you when you say that. So I agree in some terms.
The majority, then that's everybody, just about.
Okay, yeah. So I'll take the majority.
Because think about it. If you're an American or you're Chinese and you walk out the street,
I don't want to call them stupid either.
Are people going to differentiate you from anybody else?
No, you're human. I don't want to call them stupid either, though, because I think it takes a level of intelligence.
Stupidity is a choice. You know that, right?
Yeah, and I think it's more of like. I think it's more immorality. I think immoral would be a good term, because
that falls right underneath stupidity.
True, I think in a lot of ways, but I'd say the general, and this, I think that's what you mean when your words betray you. I think you have, I would definitely categorize that as stupid as well. Most people view stupidity as something else, and they would hear you calling rich people stupid and be like, well, then why aren't you rich? And that's not, you know what I mean? That's not, which, barring the entire whole luck thing we just said.
Yeah.
But
Oh, case in point, how much amazing rappers you know out there? Before y'all try to call me stupid and not pay attention to what I mean by people are stupid, think about this. How much amazing rappers are out there? Amazing music artists. And what the people at the top do? They rob them.
I think that's a really good point. If we meet, okay, I know a lot about the music industry.
Cut them out of the music industry so they can never get a job. So now they're at the same at the top.
I know a lot about the music industry.
And this is what I mean by stupid.
That is a perfect example of capitalism. It is. Oh, it's so good. That's such a good example. I don't know why I didn't use that. Fuck you. But that's really good. I mean, one of the worst things you could ever do in the music industry is sign to an artist.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what artist it is. Sign to an artist. It doesn't always go bad. There's some good stories, but it's usually horrible. And a big part is because they do that. They take these talented people who they know are talented. They either get their own buzz off of them as an artist, or they use their own buzz to make these people famous, semi-famous. All the meanwhile, whatever money they make is just being thrown into that artist's pocket.
Yeah.
A lot of artists' ways to stay wealthy without having to stay relevant has to do with scamming people essentially, and it does, it keeps you at the top. And I don't. It's a gross industry in a lot of ways. I don't think it's all bad blood. I don't even think it's all purposeful, because there are good examples of it. I just went to Dreamville Fest. J. Cole seems like I don't know him. He could be secretly an evil mastermind, but seemingly he's a good person, and all of the artists that are signed under him are all taken care of, and they're all doing really, really well. So I don't think it. I think he has a more socialistic approach to the monster that is the music industry.
Right. But then again, somebody who's sitting on the outside looking in, they all are evil.
And that is true.
Do you see what and that's why I say, if it's majority, the second it hit majority, they're all that way. Because guess what? Yeah. You are not doing or saying anything to stop these things. So now you're just
taking your little piece and you're sitting in your corner.
So now you're guilty by association.
And I think with him, if we're going to talk about J. Cole, I think he's very far removed from it. And I think he utilizes the systems of these large corporations and businesses to help put on artists that he really enjoys, and it ends there. I know they have their piece. They're probably forever wealthy themselves. They've changed their and their families' lives, and I think that's wonderful. So I don't want to shit on that, but I think you're a very noble person, and I know what you mean. I think if you're sitting amongst the evil, even if you're benefiting, even if you're doing it in a good way, it's still tainted. It's still dirty money in a sense. You know what I mean? So I get that.
And if you're not,
I think that's why you're so passionate about voting too, though.
And here's the thing: if you are not doing anything to curb that bad behavior, if you're not speaking out against it, if you're not doing anything about all of this, but still using all those facilities, like, I'm not a part of it, but you're literally thick in it. So what makes you any different from the people who are robbing and stealing from people? You're just as guilty as the rest of them. It's kind of like the analogy I like to use all the time. If you're standing on a corner, saw some dude just run up, shot some people, drove off, and you go, oh, what happened? And then you walk home like nothing happened, you are now part of that crime.
Yeah, you're an accomplice. Yeah. You didn't call no one.
You didn't call nobody. You didn't check on the person, make sure they're fine. You didn't do anything. You just went the fuck home.
Yeah.
You are now a murderer, just like the person who may not have pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
But you're now an accomplice.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm an accomplice. I'm an accomplice because I am purposely ignorant, and I will admit that is a huge privilege as Americans that we have, and I'm not ignorant to that part, but it almost makes it worse because I'm not ignorant to it. Because I will go to Costa Rica and bury my head in the sand, quite literally. But it also has to do with a sense of hopelessness. But the more I talk to you, the more I watch your videos, the more I see, the more I'm starting to understand, the more urged I am to vote next time.
Here's another thing I like to tell people. One of my favorite quotes. Live for something or die for anything.
Ooh, I like that.
Is either going to live for a purpose, for that purpose, or you're going to die on a hill of nothing.
It's stand for something or fall for anything. Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's good.
That is like the best quote ever.
Yeah.
Whoever came up with it, kudos, because it really strike home. And when you're in the military, one of the things they tell you: never give the enemy information. That's literally where that quote kind of blends right in. And either live for something or you die for anything. You can give them what they need, they're going to kill you anyways. If they're going to murder you, they're going to murder you. So might as well you die for a reason. The longer you keep your mouth shut,
the harder it's going to be on you.
The longer chance you have of staying alive.
But if you're gonna end up dying anyway, what's the point?
Precisely. So might as well just die for a reason. Give yourself a reason to die.
Yeah, I think
and this is what
I think you underestimate the nobility of like American peoples. And that's not to say we don't have a large population of very noble individuals, but I think especially in our day and age, honor and dignity are
hard to find anymore.
They're a very old and outdated, and they shouldn't be. I think that's something ingrained in us, just like socialism is in our DNA. Those are outdated concepts for a lot of people.
And it should never be an outdated concept.
No, it shouldn't.
Because the fact is, let me try to say this. You should not care about bad shit happening to somebody only when it happens to you.
Mm-hmm.
You should always care about bad shit happening, because when it happens to you, you're going to want somebody to be there for you.
Yeah, definitely.
So you should always, always try to be there for someone else, which is what I strive to do. I mean, I'm never always there because I'm not perfect. There's no such thing, but I strive to be there.
The idea. Yeah, it's ideally you're there for when people need you, or if you feel the country is in need of a wake-up call.
Mm-hmm. You got
even if all you could do is make your YouTube videos about it and talk to people you know.
And if you notice, I don't really like to talk about a country, because the fact of the matter is we don't live in a country or live on a country.
It's like a world.
We live on a planet Earth.
Yeah.
I like to include everybody. So a lot of times I talk about whiteness and blackness and Chineseness or whatever. I couldn't, you know the words, I know them, but it's the mindsets behind those I talk about.
Excuse me.
Because white is not a skin color, it's not a shade, it's a mentality.
Yeah, we're the human race. We're not. Yeah, black or white is silly.
It's just stupid.
It's cosmetics.
Like my shirt that says racism is stupid.
That is a good use for the word stupid. I think. I mean, socialism being ingrained in our DNA.
But do you see how? But everything we just talked about. Do you see how everything we talk about has some social element to it?
Yeah, and I think a good way of saying socialism is ingrained in our DNA. The idea of like social ownership, or society getting the brunt of the resources, which is how it should be. It's attached to like a very ancient way of being, tribal, very tribal. We as people are tribal individuals. It is in our DNA to be socialistic. It is you provide for the tribe. You provide for, even if it is as small as your family, you provide for your family. Mm-hmm. And I think as we grow more connected, as odd as it seems, we also grow more isolated in a sense. So like, I think we are super connected to one another, meaning we know what everyone else is doing. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if we've also ever been more isolated too. Our society, social media, the way things are becoming, it's all about me. It's never about us.
That is that same package that they wrapped up and sold to you a couple hundred years ago.
Meaning?
Capitalism.
Yeah.
This is why people are becoming isolated, because of capitalism. They're not becoming isolated because of socialism. They're becoming isolated because of capitalism.
I don't know if it has to do with like a
think about this.
Economic structure more than it does.
It's totally economic.
Well,
I guarantee it. Watch, I'm a market.
No. I think I know where you're going. Go ahead. I think I know where you're going.
It's 100% economic.
Social media was designed around. It wasn't designed around.
To being social.
It was designed. It weaponizes our social traits as humans to keep us on the platform longer, so that they can sell more ads. But all of that is a capitalistic intention behind it. Like it. Yeah.
That's social media. True. Social media was always, when the internet was developed, it was to connect us, which was amazing. Mm-hmm. We were connected. Mm-hmm. Then we started selling stuff on the internet, which is even doubly amazing, because there's some things you couldn't get at your house.
Yeah.
You go on the internet
and you find it in 5
minutes.
Yeah, it's
right?
great.
That was perfect. So you could all went to your local store, and the local store could have probably bought it and shipped it to your house or whatever. That was great. That's what it was meant to do.
Yeah.
But the capitalists saw it and go, wait, I can force feed these people stuff that I want them to do.
Yep.
All
information, product.
So now they created social.
Yep.
Social media. And you remember back the first time when social media came out, there was no ads on it. Mm-hmm. Social media was, you get on there, you look at a bunch of shit, and you get done, you get off.
Yeah, like a MySpace. It was about social connectivity.
It was about you telling the world who you are.
And it's crazy because I don't know who changed it or how it changed. I don't think anyone does. But and it's also probably a bit of a human thing too. But they really did weaponize how we function as people against us. I mean, even now with reels, like keeping you hooked in there, keeping you looped in. But even before that,
That's not it either. I'm gonna tell you exactly.
well, no, even before that, the social.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna break it down for you. Just listen.
But
Just
the
listen.
social aspect of it, like the culture of it changed. It used to be about, you said MySpace used to be about like,
It's not about that. Let me break it down to you.
hold on.
No,
It used to be
no.
about social connectivity.
It was
But
never about
the-
social connectivity.
The culture changed.
It was never about that. Listen, I want you to pay attention. I broke it down. I want you to pay attention. So, with the MySpace, right? The MySpace was fine. You introduce yourself to the world, you do a little stuff, and you're done. Remember, when social media just came out, that's when stuff started to get expensive. It was right at the time stuff started to get expensive.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about it.
All right, so
But it sounds
I
right,
can tell you
sure.
about it. So right at the time social media came out, that's when capitalism truly started to take off. Because now they can start influencing people in other ways.
So before you, that's what I was trying to say while you were revving up for that, is social currency became about, showing off what you own, showing off what you did.
But it was never like that though.
No, before that, right? Yeah.
On MySpace,
It was chill.
On MySpace, it was chill.
It was about what favorite song you liked.
Oh my goodness, right?
You had your little top 3 songs
right,
on
your
there.
little top
like,
song, or your little, or what I'm doing today, or let's meet it there.
Yeah, it
We're
was
gonna have
chill.
a party here.
You had some,
artists
yes.
entertain themselves.
It was super.
It was pretty cool.
super basic.
And then Facebook. That's what really changed it.
Yeah, that was.
Okay, Facebook started doing videos and all the other stuff.
And I'm sure at
And
first
then-
it was great too.
I remember, and it was great.
Yeah.
And then they started to do what? Dumping advertisements. And the second they did that, that's when the switch changed.
You know when it started? Farmville. I don't know if you remember this shit.
Oh yeah,
On
Farmville. I remember
Facebook.
Farmville.
Listen, there's no way I could let my crops go. All right? Because this guy, if I let myself sleep one day, he's got more bread than I do in Farmville.
Right.
And it's over. And I think like little games like that.
Little games like that force people to start
It showed-
accepting social capitalism.
Yeah, and it showed like, even in this game,
How bad capitalism was.
little guy right here legitimately will stay up to harvest his crops when he has to the point where they even let you pay money into it. They will pay money
Do you see
to
it?
be better than their friend. They will pay money to be, and then it's just. And I'm not saying that's what started. I just mean I'm sure those were little experiments. and-
Those were little tiny experiments to see how people would accept. That's when gaming changed to financial gaming.
Yeah, and it's a big part of how Fortnite, we'll say Fortnite, one of the biggest games. The biggest part how Fortnite makes their money is social currency. You don't have to pay to play that game at all.
Yeah, you buy the game and you just play it.
But-
No, you have to download it and play it.
But what it's about,
It's about buying the stuff like that in the stores.
having a nice ass skin is gonna make you feel amazing, and
right?
you want more skins than your friends. Better, yeah. It's
And the thing is, what they started to do was they started to let people compete against with skins.
oh yeah.
So they started this whole thing, and then they started pay influencers. This
Influencers, animes. And,
That's
you know what I mean.
and influence. Guess where influencers started? MySpace.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's when it
I'm
started.
sure all the way back then, for sure.
That's when it started. They started to pay people to show off. Oh, look
Because
at
I
my
think
clothes.
before the term
look at my shoes.
influencers came about,
Yes.
it was
look
just
at my clothes and look at my shoes. Look what I have.
fashionistas or.
That's when it
But
started.
even artists. I mean, Drake, one of the biggest artists in the world, got started on MySpace. He was huge on MySpace.
So
and
what? And that's what they did. They used all these little platforms to start to manipulate people. how
Yeah,
to
they
think.
embedded it into. They made it a social norm.
Slowly,
and
exactly.
They also make it seem like it's regular people who are doing it.
Yes.
People who you and I who are doing it. But I'm sure there was a lot of.
But guess what? It started even before that.
Ill intention.
It started with magazines.
Oh, it's always been a thing. It's always been a thing.
But when social media
It's
come on
just
and more people
so
can
much
afford
worse.
to using it now.
Yeah,
Because
yes.
that was the thing. People can afford
Yes.
because MySpace was free.
Yep. See, I will say one thing I do enjoy about it, because it personally affects me, is that as that's crazy. I bet you there should be. I'm sure we could look up a video. There should be a study on how much social media affected like our collective conscience, because that's crazy.
When it really got bad, I'm gonna tell you exactly when it really got bad. They jacked up people, started making people work more hours. People were tired from not sleeping, playing either video games on MySpace, Farmville.
Can't let them get ahead of me.
Right. All those little things. What they did was start to get people drained and tired and not focused anymore. So what they started to do was work people more, start charging more for stuff. Do you see? They slowly did it to force people to start thinking, well, if I work more, and right around that time to start telling people you need to work more.
Yeah, and I think, and that's what I mean. I don't know enough about it to know. I think that's definitely a factor, but I don't want to say like that's the reason, but no, definitely. It's because the culture around work definitely changed.
Yes, it's changed.
The culture,
and then they started to isolate people.
And and on purpose. And I think it changed in reflection with like, you used to be able to afford things this way. No one went, oh my God, gas is $3. No, duh, I can't fucking afford things. The answer is always work more. The answer is never going to be, well, just don't afford it. You can't say that.
And then with the influencers that they're paying now, who are selling their souls for a buck, that they can't seem to realize that they're the ones jacking up their own lives. I don't know how that works. You're fucking up your own life.
Well, if you're getting paid for it, they don't care.
But they're screwing up their own lives. In the same I don't know, whatever.
As long as they're on the good side of it, they don't give a shit.
Whatever.
And I don't even think they see it like that. They see it as getting their bag.
And that's the thing. But pay attention to all influencers. After a certain period of time, they fall right off a cliff. Then they all end up bankrupt. Why would you sell your soul out in the first place to then go bankrupt 2 years later?
Yeah, it's hard because it's not just. I don't want to. Influencers is a general term we're using. I think there's a lot of variations of influencers. There are people, the entertainment industry, like it's always.
And no matter how you influence people, you're an influencer. Now listen up.
It's true.
Yeah, you're an influencer. So the artists influence people, and then they fall off a cliff.
Yeah,
you don't see or hear from none of them again.
Yeah, they just sign a bunch of other people who are really good.
Yeah, and then you have the ones that are coming up can't realize that these people are robbing them blind, and you shouldn't be doing that. So then they start isolating themselves because the people that they used to hang out with, they're broke, they can't really get a job. Instead of let's work together. And then here's the other dumb part: these people who are broke, trying to get up there, trying to pull the people from up top down to their globe. I mean, come on, people, get together.
It's just a cycle of fighting over scraps.
It's a vicious cycle, and I don't know why people can't realize that if they get off. Oh, you know when it really got bad too? Text messaging. That's when they truly separated people.
Text messaging?
Text messaging.
That's way before all the stuff we're talking about.
No.
Yeah, it was.
Text messaging started around the time of, actually right in the beginning of Facebook, MySpace, that's what.
No way.
It was there. It's called what's called multimedia messaging? Yes. The little one-liners, look hi or how you doing, the little flip phones, and that's when it's truly, and that's MySpace. That's around MySpace when cell phones
around MySpace. Yeah, yep.
Yes, like I said, right in between the transition.
I remember the little slide.
Yeah, the flip ups or the slides. Yeah,
slides.
And then you have to type pump the one number 10 times.
No, that's the one. That's just like the flip phone with the numbers.
Yeah.
Do you remember when they started having the keyboards
when
under?
They put and that's around MySpace. That's when they
the Blackberries.
That's when they truly started to separate people. Right around that time.
Okay, why you say that?
Because, right around that time, people stopped answering the damn phones.
That is true.
Nowadays, you can't get somebody to freaking answer the phone to save your life.
I will say, I do believe he has a personal grudge, because if we talk about words not liking us, he does not very much like texting. And although I do agree with him, I think
fucking hate texting.
As much as I do agree with the sentiment, I do think there's a personal grudge.
I fucking hate texting.
I hate texting.
I fucking hate it. I'm not going to try to front.
No, but you're right though. It's
that's when they separated people.
It was a lot less, and I feel like calling someone is about the closest thing you can get to sitting down and talking with someone.
That is the definition of sitting and talking to somebody.
Yeah, pretty much. I just mean there is something extra when you're in front of someone. I do enjoy that more, but you're right. Texting is not the same.
Texting was always and forever be a separation tool. They built it specifically for that reason.
Now that's interesting. I don't know if that's true, but all I know is that that is very interesting idea.
Talk to someone who texts all the time in person and see they don't get social anxiety.
Ooh. We should do that next time. We should. What I would like to do, because we do a lot of spiel. Mm-hmm. We should start doing some research and bringing it to the table. Like,
all right,
I think that's a good one. We should write that down.
Texting.
Was texting used to? I'm gonna write it down on my phone. I'm gonna text it to you.
Sure. That's fine. Sure. Text it. So I see, and texting was never meant to do that.
Yeah.
It was meant to send short burst messages of, oh, I can't answer the phone right now.
Is this Crazy Lies, by the way?
Yes, this is Crazy Lies.
Crazy Lies. All right, I'm gonna do Crazy Lies topics.
So.
Was texting.
You think about this logic. You get a text message. When text message was first off, you remember it was like simple, like 5-6 lines of character. You didn't have a lot of stuff to put in.
A lot of the time it was call me.
Yeah, it was like call me.
Yeah.
And then or emergency, and you send it because the person was never pagers. That's when it truly started.
Okay, but are pagers that bad because they were just telling you to call them?
Exactly, pagers were never bad.
Yeah, okay, so pagers were good. We're okay with pagers.
Because you had to
just telling you to call somebody. Yeah, okay.
That's it. And then somebody said, well, we don't need the pagers anymore. We can put it on the phones.
Yeah.
All right, it's fine. Put it on the phones.
Okay.
But then the second they made it bigger and then started to make it more expansive, or you can send pictures now, you can send videos, you can do it over the net, people started to separate.
Yeah.
This is when people started, this is when the true hatred of racism kicked in.
Oh, ew.
It was bad. It started to get better, but the minute you started to separate people and start creating little cliques and little groups.
I definitely think it added something to it that, and I think that goes back to the conversation. Oh my God, my thing's on 5%. I think that adds back to the conversation of, the Republican Democrat Party. See, we wear everything on our chest, and I think a big part of that is social media for sure. So
okay, so now take everything we just talked about, and do you see how it falls right under a social net?
I don't. No.
Socialism net.
I know what you mean. I think we should come up with a different term than socialism.
And what they do.
Because I think socialism is used economically.
It's the name people are having a problem with.
Yeah.
But the name, just like anything else. All right. So
you should just say society.
So think about this. What's a name? A name is something you give to identify a thing, right?
Yeah.
A name is a word you use to identify a thing.
This is all semantics. Let's.
It's not semantics. It's facts. A name is something. Think about it. Try to do logically here. A name is a word you use to identify a thing.
Yes, but the general public
separate from everything else
uses socialism as an economic term.
They use it that way because.
So what do you mean when you say it all falls under socialism? Because we just mentioned how social media was very capitalistic.
Right.
So how does it fall under the social media or social umbrella?
But look, it falls under social because you still need people to make it work.
Yeah, that's okay. So I think a better term is society. So it all falls under society. Like it uses society to function. That's not what socialism means, though. Socialism is a style that enhances,
and that's the fluff.
Yeah.
That's every time I talk to you about stuff, I say that's the fluff. That's the stuff that makes absolutely no difference either way.
Yeah.
That's stuff that makes no difference either way.
So it doesn't make a difference to you and I in this conversation because I just had a really long conversation with you, and I know exactly what you mean. But that is why knowing precisely what the term is helps, because that's something that you do a lot, and I think, like you said, it's just because words hate you in a way. Your brain also moves so damn fast that like you're just grasping for fucking straws whenever you can. But I think that's one of the things. Is I know what you mean, and whenever I break it down with you, I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because
he was just pulling a different term. Like it's not, for all intents and purposes, I would say that's the wrong term. But I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying.
And that's the thing. We need to.
And you're like, I don't care about terms. Hear what I'm saying. And I get that.
And the thing is, we also need to stop generalizing things.
Yeah, but like socialism is a term used for an economic descriptor.
But that's generalizing a broader
a broader topic.
Exactly. And that's the problem. As humans, we try to generalize every fucking thing.
Yeah.
We try to take everything and try to put them in little boxes.
Yeah, we're all
That's
guilty
why I said
of it.
we.
Yeah.
We all try to put
sure.
things in boxes, even they don't belong in those damn boxes.
Yeah.
If we try to put them in fucking there anyways.
Yeah, but do you think socialism...
And socialism is one of them words or topics that they try to shove in a box that never belong in that damn box in the first place.
But socialism is directly connected to economics. So all that we talked about, are you saying...
Socialism, and that's the problem. I told you, you're putting it in a box it don't belong in.
So then what would you... then there has to be a term for the more general thing, right?
I don't know what it is. There's one.
Okay, so I think we both don't know, because I know what you're talking about, but socialism is only a part of that. Socialism is an actual thing. It is a term directly connected to something. So I don't think we should figure out what that word is.
You know what? We Jamaicans love to do this part. Callman, Batman, Gallus, gangster, thief. But those are just small things for a broader thing. Mm-hmm. Perfect example, a thief. If you say thief, you think of somebody stealing something.
Yeah.
But there's different variation of a thief, and if you take the thief, put it at the top, there's so much branches and sub branches and micro branches that goes under the same heading.
Would you say it's patois, right? Patois. Mm-hmm. Would you say patois is a different language?
No, it's English.
Because it's English.
It's English.
But so it's like a different dialect almost.
It's just a different version of English.
Yeah.
So
I would say this is its own language.
So it pops right on the language of English.
So
it's just different.
But
it's
do you
just
think
English.
there's a barrier? Like, do you think there's a barrier with like a more formal American English versus patois that like sometimes you speak in a way that would make sense?
No.
In patois more than it would.
No, it's English. It's just English. What? We just pronounce words differently.
Well, that's true, but
just like the British.
But I will say, yeah, that's true. But even amongst British and Americans, like, obviously, I'll still be able to understand you. Mm-hmm. But I think when it comes to like in-depth conversation, there are differences in the way we speak and even in the way we kind of think. And
the thing is not how we speak it; it's how we word it.
Yes, and that's what I mean. There might be technically a different language, but I feel like it's different styles enough to be very different. Like,
but it's still English. So it's kind of like you call a tomato, and I call it a tomato. Still freaking English.
Okay,
it's just different words.
But that's different. That's different.
It's not different. It's the same tomato.
Because we're still talking about a tomato.
Exactly.
But when you say socialism, or rather, you say thief or a gangster, like a thief and a gangster are two different things. But that's what I'm saying. It's.
But here's the funny part: a thief and a gangster is the same fucking thing.
They can be. They aren't always.
They are always.
That's what I mean. That's. And if you go to like a old English version of those two things, they have complete. They're gonna be like, what the fuck are you talking about, Quinn?
And but it's still English.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
And that's what socialism is. Socialism is a one heading, but has so much different more to it than just financial. And I don't know why people keep putting financial alone as socialism.
So then maybe that's a misfire on my part.
It's a misfire on everybody's part. It's not just you. Because when you say the second you say socialism, somebody go, "Oh no, that's financial."
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's usually like in terms of like an economic.
Yeah, exactly, and it's not. More.
I even just looked up the description and it said
there's so much more to socialism than it meets the eye.
So other than economics, do you feel like socialism extends to?
Socialism extends to everything.
You feel like socialism extends to like.
And that's why I say it's ingrained in our DNA. Like it's literally ingrained into our DNA. AKA, you talk about a village.
Yeah, maybe we should come up with a different term.
Think about somebody needs to come up with a different term. Because think about it, in a village. Everybody take care of everybody. That's socialism.
Yeah.
Because that's what literally socialism means. You pool all your resources together.
Yeah. I think that's why it's so commonly used for economics is because it's resource based.
It's resource based. And that's why I keep saying
and resources doesn't have to just be economics.
Financial doesn't have to be.
There's resources within everything.
There's resources in water,
energy
food,
resources like with your body. Yeah.
there's so much to socialism that people just keep. I don't know why they keep putting in this box that it doesn't belong in.
Okay. So socialism is an idea in which we are supposed to share and take care of each other, essentially.
That's what
saying.
socialism
Okay.
is.
Okay.
It is literally the human fucking factor.
Gotcha.
Think about
yeah,
this.
I can-
How much humans how much humans you know that live by themselves? None.
Yeah, it's not.
Absolutely
We're
not.
not supposed to.
We're not, and we don't survive when we live alone.
No,
for very long.
You trap a guy on an island, they go crazy.
He's pretty much dead in like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, they go crazy. Yeah, they go insane.
We are not. We are literally social creatures.
Yeah, we have to be. Even the most isolated individual needs some form of.
We are social creatures, and why in God's name do we pack ourselves together like sardines every chance we get?
We need to. Yeah, a lot of the time it's just a natural. It's a natural thing.
Being social is going around and talking to people. Socialism is the actual thing that we actually do to keep our society alive. By bringing all our resources, pulling everything together to build and stay the fuck alive.
Yeah, I think.
So in other words, social is just like the definition, and socialism is the mechanism.
Okay. Yeah, I get that.
You know, social is what we do. We socialize.
Being social, yeah.
But socialism is the entire thing encompassing all of it.
That's society.
The society is
And then socialism is the act of utilizing your society in a way that benefits itself.
Precisely. Yeah,
Rather than,
that's better.
I feel like
that's a better way to put it.
And I feel like capitalism
is just,
especially in its late stages, is very. It's a way to use your society to benefit a small amount.
One person. It's not even a group. And now think about communism. That's what communism is.
Yeah, it's a way for a small group of people to command the resources of many. Yeah, and to dominate. It really just benefits those who are in government.
It benefits whoever's at the top. Capitalism is the same damn thing. It benefits only the people.
I'll tell you what.
Top.
In 2025, it's reading very similar.
That's all. That's what they were from the jump street. They never changed.
Scary.
Somebody just found a way to wrap up capitalism in a nice little package and sell it to people.
So where in the world do you feel they do socialism well?
England, Canada, France.
So you think even the UK's having issues. I don't know if it's as bad as America.
Even China's starting to implement socialism.
Oof.
That's how bad it is that China's starting to implement socialism because they found out, they're realizing that
it's not as effective.
Communism is not as effective as actually socialism will be in the future. And
it's a good in between.
It is the only in between.
Yeah. It's a good place to meet in the middle. And I again, the temporary embarrassed millionaires thing. It's like I think why it's so hard for especially American people to join in. I know speaking from my own thoughts, even my younger thoughts, is like, which isn't even true, because if I ever had money like that or ran a company like that, I would try to run it. I don't want to say as socialistic.
We're going to have to make that another topic. Write that one down. Can you run your country as a country as a company? And I'm gonna prove you how wrong that shit is.
Can you run your company socialistic? You're saying
you can run a company socialistic, yes, but you cannot run a country as a company.
Okay. Can you run your country like a business?
You can't run your country like a business, but you can run. You can't run a country as a business, but you can run
a business
as a country.
In a socialistic way is what we were talking about. So one of my favorite, because I like entertainment. I aspire to be entertainment in some way, shape, or form. Specifically, the ways I like, obviously, music. Movies,
but that's it for today. The video's gonna be like 2 hours long if we keep going.
No, yeah. I just want to talk to him about this.
Hold on.